Brian was super easy to talk to. He was a great listener. He listened to my story. I was very shamed when I went to see Brian because of the stigma attached to bankruptcy, how bankruptcy and being forced into bankruptcy was part of my ex-husband's agenda to punish me for leaving him. Brian was very, very understanding of that. He assured me that everything that I was doing and entrusting him to do for me was going to end up being a path for me to rebuild my life, financially especially. Brian was available to me every step of the way. I was afraid of how public bankruptcy was going to make me, how vulnerable it was. At the time, I was still in a place where I was having to hide, so to speak, from my abuser, and he was very sensitive, aware, and responsive to me in that manner. The fact that Brian was highly educated from a very prominent school made a huge difference in discerning and clarifying which professional bankruptcy attorney I wanted to work with. That being said, he was very, very articulate about each and every step of the bankruptcy and following every rule. So in my particular situation, because I had escaped a 20-year domestic violence relationship, the most important thing for me was that I have an attorney that understood where I was coming from, that understood the significance of making myself vulnerable publicly through bankruptcy, and how the bankruptcy had, leading up to the bankruptcy, how my financial situation had so negatively impacted not just my ability to escape while in the situation, but the consequences of doing so when I started to rebuild my life, both financially and emotionally. And I needed Brian to understand that and to make himself available to me, not just as my voice, but as my protector in the system and against my abuser. I am a champion for Brian Zinn. I love him as a person. He is a good human, and he is diligent and will work tirelessly on your behalf. And anyone who comes into my office needing help with financial abuse, needing help with any kind of fear surrounding their financial situation because of things that were out of their control, or choices made because they didn't realize they had other choices and options, I recommend Brian. I recommend him to the agencies that support other women of domestic violence, because many people are women of means, and they are embarrassed and they are afraid, and they have a very complicated situation that needs to be resolved. And that's why Brian Zinn is the person that you need to handle these situations. I recommend him very highly.